Anaconda
Malt liquor.
Anaconda malt liquor.
Yeah, that's me.
How are you?
Good, mate, good.
Anaconda malt liquor is back on the scene.
Anaconda fucking malt liquor, cock liquor. He's probably there fucking bagging me as well, because he got butt hurt as well, the fucking clown. Because he believes that buffalo, you know, the video I made the other day. He believes that fucking, remember last year that old fart in Buffalo? He fell and hit his head.
Push him back! Push him back! Push him back! Push him back!
He believed that shit. That was the end of him. Oh, what a fucking joke. The only fucking idiot in all of the world that thinks that fucking was real. And I thought he was decent. He's a fucking clown.
The clown is right.
Push him back! Push him back! Oh.
The clown is right.
Holy enchiladas!
Anaconda malt liquor gives you
Anaconda malt liquor.
G'day, long time no see. As we're looking at the New Year's Eve celebration fireworks from Geelong, Victoria, just a couple of nights ago. It was a lovely night. Weather was fantastic and there were heaps of people out and about, so yeah, that was good. I thought I'd share some of that with you. While I apologise for not making any videos recently. I haven't really been motivated to do so. I did do a whole bunch of the Looney Tunes series. You'd remember the Looney Tunes series. I couldn't help myself but point out some of the most ludicrous things that we were expected to believe in this current paradigm, or in this parallel universe is probably a better way to describe what's going on over the last little bit and a bit. But yeah, we had 9 months off work. Our state government here decided that some of us were unworthy to attend our jobs for at least 9 months, but that time is over, thank goodness, and I'm back at it. And I guess that might have contributed a little bit too, you know, couldn't be bothered with so many videos. And plus, also I've got a new laptop here, and I've been messing around with some new software. I've got the Movavi software, so I'm trying that out today. So did you like that little intro? I spent a bit of time pissing around learning how to use the Movavi on that intro. Yeah, but like I said, the Looney Tunes series was to point out some of the most ludicrous things that they expected us to believe, and they still want us to expect. They still expect us. Excuse me. So you can tell it's been a while since I've done this. The words aren't flowing out of my lips very smoothly today. Yeah, yeah. So go easy on me. You'll just have to bear with me a bit, because it's been a while since I've sat down and done one of these things. But as I was trying to say, they still want us to believe some things that seem a little bit mad. But I mean, if it's in the news, it must be real. They wouldn't put things in the news like this if it wasn't real. You know, that things, because there seems to have been, you hear reports in different alternative news places, which obviously they're all full of shit, these alternative news places. That's why they're called alternative news, because you're not getting the real news, you're getting an alternative version of fake news. That's all the bullshit news, you know, people that aren't certified journalists working for you know, legacy media, mainstream media. That's because that's where the source of all the truth is. But it turns out that being sarcastic can put you at a greater risk of a heart attack, warn doctors, as reported here in The Sun. So you have to watch the way we talk. You don't want to get too sarcastic, because you might end up in a hospital having a heart attack, which we don't want, because the hospitals at the moment are apparently overrun, you know, like they're super busy. Well, they might be, because they do report a bit of understaffing, that they're having trouble with staffing numbers or whatever. I can't understand why that would be, because it's always plenty of nurses and stuff, you know, like it's a popular profession, nursing and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know where all the staff have gone, and I have noticed, and you probably have in your area too, noticed there seems to be an upsurge in the busyness of ambulance the ambulance guys seem to be flat out. There seems to be like ambulances ringing, sirens buzzing, and ambulances flying by like all the time. I hear 3, maybe 4 a day, whereas, you know, I don't remember hearing that many. But I guess, you know, a lot of sarcastic people out there having heart problems, you know. And it's not just sarcastic people that are having heart issues as well. During the lockdowns and the government mandated time off work, a lot of people got into gardening, and it turns out that gardening can be an increased risk of the killer heart disease. Playing around in the soil can greatly increase your chances of dying from heart disease, which is that's a bit of a scary thing, you know, like particularly with the prices of food going up and all that. A lot of people will be looking to get in the garden and try and grow a little bit of veg and stuff for themselves, try and save a few dollars and make sure that they can eat. But you know, it might not be worth the effort, because you can get out there, do a bit of gardening, get heart disease and die. What would be worse, dying of starvation or dying of heart disease? And imagine if you were one of those sarcastic gardeners. Oh, sarcastic gardening. Maybe there's a YouTube channel in that one where you can start up the sarcastic gardening. Rocknose started a good channel called Green Thumbs Melbourne. If you haven't got onto that one yet, Green Thumbs Melbourne. Maybe a warning to you, Rocknose, don't have it sarcastic Green Thumbs Melbourne. You could find yourself overwhelming the already overwhelmed hospital and ambulance system. But, you know, let's be honest, there's probably no escaping it anyway, because climate change, it's a very real thing. Climate change. Oh, is that? Oh no, sorry. I was a little bit worried. I thought I was having a heart attack. I was getting a little bit sarcastic there. A little bit worried. But climate change, you know, like, it's very real, and it could also be responsible for an increase in heart attacks because, you know, climate change and that. So if you're worried about the hospitals being all overwhelmed and short-staffed and ambulances being extremely busy with heart problems, which could only be coming from being sarcastic gardeners in a changing climate. I mean, can you imagine? Hearts are going to be just exploding left, right and centre if you believe all this stuff. Oh. But it's the children I'm really worried about, because we all know, like, children can be quite sarcastic, can't they? Particularly young, you know, early teens. I remember when I was a teenager, I could be quite sarcastic at times, especially towards teachers and things like that. It's a wonder I didn't have hundreds of heart attacks while I was at school. But I guess the climate wasn't changing so much back then, and there weren't as many video games. The video games just weren't as good to play back then. The ones that existed, like, I'm pretty old, so we're going back to Atari 2600 days and stuff, and those video games, you know, as fun as they were, they don't compare to the video games that we have today, which a study shows that could trigger heart attacks in kids. You know, when you add up, especially like the pre-teens, the sarcastic teenagers in this ever-changing climate, you know, because that climate change is a real thing. And when I'm not just talking about from, you know, winter to spring to summer to autumn, like that kind of climate change. We're talking about this really real climate change, which means you're going to have to stop eating meat and eat bugs and not drive your car anywhere anymore, and have those electric cars that are really good and cheap and have absolutely no risk of fire and explosions and stuff like that. Really good. Anywho, so let's just keep an eye on the kids there. Make sure they're not playing too many video games. And you don't let them be sarcastic while they're playing the video games, because in this ever-changing climate, they could just add to the trouble at the hospital. We don't want to overwhelm the understaffed hospital. I wonder why they're so understaffed. I just don't understand why they're understaffed, the hospitals. Maybe because they're so overwhelmed that staff just can't keep up. I don't know. They should do more choreography. I know when they were overwhelmed couple of years ago when they were really, really, really busy and were extremely overwhelmed and had people coming in and just dying left, right and centre. You'd remember it was all over the media and all that sort of stuff, and you couldn't click a social media page anywhere without seeing all these, you know, bunches, heaps and heaps of nurses in well choreographed and rehearsed video routines that they were posting online. So maybe they should get back to some dancing, and that might solve some of the problems. That helps with that, might help with the understaffing, and certainly with the overwhelming nature of the hospitals at the moment. Come to think of it, it's all pretty doom and gloom. If you're a sarcastic gardener who likes playing video games in this ever-changing climate, because that's a really real thing, this climate change, well, it doesn't get any better, because apparently this study suggests that there's tiny particles in the air that may trigger sudden heart attacks, which would explain why we're hearing all these reports of rather fit and healthy people, especially it seems to be hitting FIFA, the FIFA world game, soccer or football as we call it soccer here. It's called football in many other nations, but a lot of footballers having heart issues, some having heart attacks and dying on the pitch, and some at training and some just at home, all fit, really fit and healthy people. We need to check the air, because the air particles that might be triggering their sudden heart attacks in this ever-changing climate. It's a really real thing, climate change. I'm not being sarcastic, wouldn't want to put my heart at any risk there, because I do want to do some gardening again tomorrow. I'm alright because I don't play video games anymore. Except maybe the odd game of solitaire on the new laptop. That's about it. So I'm still at high risk of heart attack, you know, because no one can get away from climate change. It's too very real, and there are many, many particles in the air. I mean, we've just spent the last 2.5 years hiding from the air. I mean, people are still doing it, really worried about tiny particles in the air, not for heart attacks, but for some other thing. Apparently, some, you know, the flu or whatever it is, you got to dress up as a surgeon. You got to wear like those masks that the surgeons wear, apparently, and that keeps you safe from the tiny particles in the air that have caused everybody to go out and take part in a trial, a certain trial the government's wanted us to take part in. I don't know what that was all about, because I didn't get involved. So all I know is that because I didn't involve myself in it, I wasn't allowed to work for about 9 months. But yeah, they let me go back to work, even though I didn't take part in that trial. There are some people that still, if they didn't have a go at that trial thing, they still can't work. Maybe that's why some of the hospitals. Oh no, I don't want to speculate or anything. You know, I don't want to be one of those. I don't want to bring unwanted. I don't want to go against the World Health Organization. You can't say anything that's contradictory to the World Health Organization here on YouTube. But whatever that trial was about, apparently it was very safe, and it turned out to be very, very effective. So well done to all those people that did take part in that trial. It seemed like it would have been fun. So yes. So I guess this video is to serve as a bit of a warning for those sarcastic gardening type of people who like to play video games in this ever-changing, very real climate change, something we should be really, really concerned about. And as a result, also when you're gardening, you have to be really concerned about the tiny particles in the air, although that probably doesn't matter whether you're inside or outside, because air is both inside and outside, so you can get these tiny particles that cause heart attacks inside playing video games just as much as being outside sarcastically gardening amongst all this changing climate that's very, very real. So be careful. But it's even worse if you're married and you're having, you know, some arguments and stuff with your spouse, because marital stress is revealed as a key factor in heart attacks. It's a Yale study, you know, Yale University or whatever it is, you know, like, they don't muck around. I'm sure they can tell you all about the climate change problems that we're having and all of that. They'd be right in to all that sort of stuff as well. They're right up there on the cutting edge of science, you know, these universities and stuff. So the more I make this video, the more downhearted I'm becoming, because there are a lot of married people that have, especially over the last few years, you know, when the people have been forced out of work, whether that's due to the lockdowns, which had to be done, you know, like it was very, very important that businesses were closed down for good, because there was different tiny particles in the air that we had to worry about. And those, not only were they in the air, but they like on things as well, like on the traffic light signals and on the handles of the shopping trolleys and your door handles and on your fruit. I think you saw in one of my videos that these tiny particles could even waft through toilets into other apartments, you know, like, so there was really no escaping them. And that's why it was so important that you dressed up as a surgeon and wore those surgeon's things, you know, the PPE and the things over your face and all that kind of stuff. It was very, very important because there were all those tiny particles. Not now we've got to worry about the tiny particles that cause heart attacks for the married people under having stress, you know, problems, because their businesses were shut down or they were out of work for up to 9 months or some even longer because of the chosen professions that they were, and because there are a lot of other businesses that had to close down, it's made it harder for some of these people to find work in different areas, so the marital stress could raise a bit while you're dodging the tiny particles. And if you're trying to, you know, distract yourself by playing video games or even sarcastically gardening, you know, the risk of heart problems in this current climate changing, which is very, very real, climate change, be careful about that stuff. The risk for heart attacks is incredible, really. Like, it doesn't seem there's anybody that can escape it, you know. It's terrible. Maybe in the future they'll have another trial thing that everybody can take part in that might try to stop, safely and effectively, stop heart attacks. Be interesting to see what happens there. And in the background you're looking at... I should have mentioned that Adventure Park here in Geelong. They had a Christmas lights special thing. It was quite nice. No, again, the weather was really nice and lots of people out and about. It was chock-a-block actually, with all the pretty Christmas style lights. Took your mind off the fact that it was so dangerous and any one of us could have just dropped dead of a heart attack. Although I didn't see a lot of marital stress there at that time, maybe because the weather was so nice and the lights were so pretty that sort of people were spared from that. So I hope that's the case, fingers crossed. Now, although I didn't see much marital stress at Adventure Park that night, everybody seemed to be having a good time. There were a lot of people doing similar things to me, and that was like, you know, filming this sort of stuff. And like I've done here, I've uploaded it to a social media platform, and I'm sure a lot of other people were doing that as well, which unfortunately turns out not to be such a good idea. Social media also increases the risk of having heart attacks and strokes, these experts warn. So it's not just Gen Z that are on course for having heart attacks and strokes when you think about it, because just about everybody is using, all age groups are using social media these days. And it says here that experts warn that loneliness and social isolation raises the risk by 30%. So if you're using social media, think about what happened during the lockdowns. You had people not only just using lots of social media, but they were also socially isolated. Like, you know, especially the older people, when they couldn't even have people come visit them in their nursing homes or in hospitals and things like that. So essentially the risk was going up higher and higher, which, no sarcasm involved in that bit there. Loneliness was causing some health issues. But when you add the social media on top of that, plus people there were probably people on social media being sarcastic as well, and they're reading lots about climate change, the very real thing, climate change. They're probably playing video games on social media, looking at gardening videos, thinking about their gardening. You know, and the isolation being the social isolation. I can't speak. The social isolation would have added to the marital stress. Some people, you know, being locked away, not being able to go to work for various reasons, locked in the house with their spouse, you know, for all day because they're not allowed to go anywhere. So they'd be stressed with their spouses on the social media, isolated, worried about climate change, getting sarcastic with each other when they're not doing the gardening. So the risk and the time, we can't forget the tiny air particles in the air, and the air is everywhere. There's no getting away from the air, or the climate change. And the climate change and the air pretty much go hand in hand. And we know how dangerous the air can be. Like fresh air is going to get you eventually. That's why it was so important to wear paper or cloth over your face for the last couple of years. And some people still choose to do it, which I don't blame them, because those tiny particles, various, well, I don't know what these particles that give you the heart attacks are, but we all know about the other particles, like we were talking about just before, that stay on things and go through toilets and floating around in the air, especially in the fresh air. So I don't know. Seems that we're all doomed when you come to think about it. It's all gloom and doom. Our hearts are going to just be exploding all over the place for all those various reasons that we had never even known about until the last year or two. I'm sure it's got, because we know, well, I'm positive it's got nothing to do with the safe and effective stuff. Those trials, we know they were safe and effective and not causing any of these issues at all. Because if it was, they would be telling us about it on the TV and that, and they don't mention that stuff at all. So it must be all this climate change, and I particularly blame climate change and the tiny particles playing video games. Sarcasm seems to be the one I think we all have to worry about the most. Sarcastic gardeners playing video games in this ever-changing climate. Oh God. Now this story doesn't give us as much information in the headlines, but I'm not even going to open it to find out what it's talking about. There's a particular shower habit that could precipitate a heart attack in the healthy people. So yeah, I don't even want to know what that is. It's probably something like that activity of rubbing soap over your skin, or maybe washing your hair or something in the shower. I don't want to know. Maybe it's to do with the temperature of the water. I don't know. It's too scary. All these things, I don't know. I don't know how the human race has survived for as long as it has, with all these possible causes of heart attacks. Like, you think sarcasm's been around as long as man has been around, and gardening, like, they're the two most ancient quality. Climate change is a reasonably recent thing, because I don't know, we breathe more or something nowadays, so there's more carbon dioxide in the air. People are breathing more or something, and that's really real, and we should all be worried about it. But video games are a pretty recent phenomena, and social media, so I can understand that. But still, keeping clean, gardening, tiny particles in the air, and sarcasm. Like, I'm surprised the human race has made it as much as it has. So yeah, don't want to know about what's going on in the showers there, because that's just that's just too much to handle. Now, I know this article that's coming up has nothing to do with any of the stuff with heart problems at all. In fact, I reckon that this article here is fake news. I don't believe it. It says that Moderna shots are more likely to cause heart inflammation than the other one, and I don't believe any of that. I don't think any of them cause any problems. We know that the whole thing is safe and effective, and if one of these was causing more heart inflammation than the other, I'm sure it would have been on the TV. Now, yes, you guys know me. I don't watch the TV. I don't watch the news, and you know that. But the people I work with, they do. Like, they've done everything that the TV has told them to do over these last few years. In fact, before the mandates came, I was working with a vastly different bunch of people while I was away, because I wasn't allowed to work because of these things. A couple of people left, and we had, I think there's 6 new people that I came back to 9 months later, and they were only allowed to work because they had one or more of these, or both, a concoction, a mixture, 2 or 3, at least 2, I think 3, maybe some may have even had 4, because the TV has said, to get the safe and effective at least 4 times, which is a good idea apparently. But they do watch the news all the time, and if this was a thing, it would have been on the TV, because the TV news is where, that's where all the truthful stuff is. You can trust that information on there. They would have been talking about this, they would have been, oh crikey, you know, I had some of this one and a couple of those ones, a couple of the M's and 2 of the P's, and you know, I'm a bit worried that I'm going to have heart inflammation or something. But none of them are talking about that. So this is definitely fake news. No such, this is just ridiculous. I can't even believe that Yahoo News put this on there. What is it? It's a Reuters article. I'm surprised that the World Health Organization hasn't shut that story down. If they tried to put this shit up on YouTube and pass it off as real, YouTube would remove that video or whatever about that, because I'm sure that goes against what the World Health Organization is saying about the safety and efficacy, the safe and effectives, because that suggests that it's not that safe, and not, you know, it doesn't mention anything about efficacy, but it's sort of trying to allude to the fact that it might not be very safe. So yeah, that's why I know for a fact that's fake news, and the people that I work with would have been talking about it. It hasn't been on the TV, so I don't think that's anything that we need to be concerning ourselves with. Obvious fake news. And this last story that I'm going to highlight here today, I suspect it's probably also fake news, so you know, be very careful about what you make of this. I haven't read the article because and anyway, like, I don't trust this. Who's Atlanta Black Star? I don't know what this 2-bit organisation is. Passing themselves off as real journalists. There's a name. It's by, I can't read that properly. Someone Savage. And that name's a giveaway, you know, like Savage. They're just playing on names. So this has to be also one of those fake news stories. Some 2-bit organisation passing itself off as journalist, Atlanta Black Star. Like, again, if they tried to put this shit in a video, passing it off as real on YouTube, I'm sure YouTube would remove that video, because it seems to me that it goes against the information that we're getting from the World Health Organization, and you can't do that on YouTube. And anyway, the article says here, if you're just listening along, it says experts puzzled by why Haiti has one of the lowest death rates in the world despite administering 0 doses. We don't know, it says. And that's got to be bullshit. I mean, if you didn't give anybody any of the safe and effectives over this last year or so, really, if you didn't do that, there'd probably be no Haitians left at all. So that's why I think this story is bullshit, that they didn't give any doses at all. I don't think any nation got away with not giving any doses. I think you have to, you know, get 90% of... I think that's what the World Health Organization and the Economic Forum and all them have suggested, that would be the best course of action, would be to get above 90%. If not, if you could possibly get 100% of your population dosed up, that was the only way to combat this thing. So that has to be bullshit, because, you know, otherwise people would be talking about that as well. It doesn't make any sense when you think about it. They had no safe and effectives, so they weren't safe. So their rates should be double, triple, or like I said, there shouldn't be any Haitians left at all when you really think about it, because, you know, like, especially with these new variants that are super virulent, you know, like, they spread so quickly and so easily, like everybody's going to get it at some stage or another. I've been blessed, and most of the people that I know, like in my circles, have been blessed not to have it, not to get it yet. You know, that's really good. And what's make it, like, okay, maybe there's a bit of Haitian about us or something, because I don't think those people that I know, I haven't had any safe and effectives, and the people that I'm thinking of, they haven't had any safe and effectives either. So unless they're probably lying to me. That's probably what it is, because, you know, I did kick up a little bit of a stink about it. You know, mandating it sort of upset me a little bit. So maybe they just said that to make me feel better, and, you know, not to get me too scared, because, you know, I'm probably going to get it and die soon because I didn't have a safe and effective. But yeah, I don't think that's a true story at all, because it's impossible. How could your nation possibly have a lower death rate than all the other nations if you didn't give any safe and effectives at all? So yeah, you got to watch out. That's the thing with the news these days. Like, a lot of these online newspapers and things like that, some of them, like that Black Star, whatever it is, I'm sure it's just some bullshit 2-bit operator. It's probably like The Onion or something like that, you know, that a lot of people, I don't read The Onion, but apparently that's like a satire newspaper where they sort of taking the piss stories up and stuff. Yeah, you got to watch out for that kind of stuff. There's a lot of fake news going around, and even sometimes I wouldn't be surprised if sometimes like that Yahoo News story, whether they put that up there just to test their readers out to see whether they spot it. Like, I didn't do any further research into it, but I bet you they got swamped by emails of people telling them that story was bullshit too, you know, about the heart inflammation and stuff, because we know that they're safe and effective, so that's got to be bullshit. And like 2 + 2 = 4, doesn't matter what country you come from. Even Haiti, if you come from Haiti, 2 + 2 still equals 4. So we know that story has to be bullshit. It has to be bullshit. There's no two ways about it. Anyway, look, friggin' hell, this video is going on to nearly half an hour. Wow. It started off a bit rough, couldn't put me 2 words together, but I think I've warmed myself back up to it. Anyway, so hopefully over the course of the next coming weeks and stuff, I'll get back into it, because this has been a bit fun. And I'm starting to work my head around this Movavi thing. I stopped, I don't know, you could probably tell, I've stopped and started. Like, I'll do a little bit, I'll stop it, drag in a new article, and then start it up again. So I'm getting pretty good at it. So I'm not the most technological savvy bloke, you know, like, so I was a little bit put off by it. But the more, it's quite intuitive actually, the more you use it, the sort of easier it is. And then I can get into working with all the different effects and stuff that they've got. There's heaps more on it. I used to just do all my videos on the iPad, on the iMovie, and that's really intuitive, really easy to use, the iPad iMovie program thing. It's really easy to throw videos together on this one. But this looks like it's going to be really good, which is good. So yeah, I look forward to it. See what I can do, what I can come up with. You can do all kinds of stuff, green screens, and yeah, not that I'll do any green screens. You don't need to see this ugly mug all over your screen. Anyway, it's bad enough listening to me. Fuck, imagine listening to me and looking at it at the same time. No wonder I'm not married, which is probably good, because, you know, marital stress is not good for your heart, and I can get pretty sarcastic at times. And I have been enjoying some gardening. Like, that was one good thing that came about the government forced holidays, 9-month holiday, that it did sort of force me to do a little bit of gardening, which was good. Inspired by my old mate Rockno, his garden's pretty good, so I've done some stuff, which has been good. I've enjoyed it. But yeah, I have to be careful, because it can raise your risk of heart attacks, gardening, especially if you get a little bit sarcastic in the gardening in this ever-changing climate, you know. I don't play video games, but no escaping those tiny particles. And as you saw, you know, it's a real dangerous world we live in nowadays. I'm surprised that we've made it this far. So watching those fireworks last night, come to think of it, you know, it was a real blessing. There were so many people out there. It might be the last time that we ever get to see fireworks like this, a large chunk of this population, because of all the stuff that we've got to watch out for. We're going to have hearts exploding all over the place. That's probably why, like in Melbourne, I should have brought that article along. Hang on, I'll stop it and go and find that article and I'll show you. All right, I've got it. So here, hang on, this article here says that in Melbourne, they're going to be rolling out defibrillators across the north, Melbourne's north, in an effort to curb dire cardiac arrest figures. So there has definitely been a rise in cardiac arrests, like heart issues, not because of what we saw in some of those stories, like that one about the two safe and effectives. They're not causing any of this. That you can put that out of your mind right now. And but yeah, apparently because of all the sarcasm and it's probably mostly the climate change and the tiny particles in the air, but the sarcasm and the video games and all this stuff is causing Melbourne City to put a lot of defibrillators out across the city in public areas, I believe, in an effort to try and save people when they inevitably have these complications. As we can see, this is just the way the world's going. Not for any other reason apart from the ones highlighted here. Not that fake news story that I showed you. I think it was that Yahoo News about yeah, that was a load of bullshit, that one. But so if you're in Melbourne, I think if you're anywhere in the world, because climate change is real, You have to watch out for that. If you play video games, if you're married, if you have showers, if you do gardening, if you ever get a little bit sarcastic at times, learn how to use a defibrillator. You may just be able to save a loved one when they inevitably suffer from one of these problems. Because well, I might be being a bit of a doomsayer, a bit of a, you know, negative Nancy, but I can't see any reason how you could not have a heart attack. It seems like everybody's going to have one. They tell us everyone was going to get that that bug that was been the talking point over the last few years. How everyone's going to get it, except maybe the Haitians. Maybe if you're in Haiti, I don't know, something's going on there. But probably a fake story. Probably a fake story about 0 doses. Like, come on, man. You know, they wouldn't. The world's not that racist. You know, they wouldn't say no. We're not giving any to Haiti. You know, bugger them. So either the story's bullshit and they've had plenty of doses, or yeah, it's just a bullshit story. Anyway, so forget about that one. But yeah, it just seems everyone's going to get the bug. Lucky I haven't yet. And everyone's going to have heart problems, not as a result of the safe and effectives. Not fake news. Dun, dun, fake news. Fake news. China. Fake news. Grab them by the pussy. But yeah, all fake news. So learn how to use a defibrillator, because it seems scarily inevitable. Anyway, I better call it a day there. We've gotten to 35 minutes. I hope you've enjoyed the light show and the fireworks displays. The fireworks were on New Year's Eve a couple of nights ago here in Geelong at the waterfront, and the light shows were from Adventure Park in Geelong on Boxing Day night on the 26th. That was really good. So yeah, I think the light show's finished now, so yeah, you won't be able to get down and see one. But still, if you're in Geelong and you've got some young'uns and that, head down, and the weather's really nice, head down to Adventure Park in Wellington in Geelong. Got water slides and rides and things for the whole family to enjoy. It is not paid advertisement. I just enjoyed it there. Anyway, okay, so we'll leave it there. Thanks if you've sat through this long. I hope I wasn't too annoyingly boring, and I hope I haven't left you too scared for your life. Don't forget to hug the ones you love, and because, you know, goodness knows what's coming around the corner, heart-wise and stuff, you know, and climate change particularly. The climate could change so drastically that it could get really warm or really cold or really wet. Well, we've seen how wet it is here in Australia. We've had the massive floods in parts of the country, and yeah, that's all as a result of climate change. You know, I think because of the things that we as a human race do. You know, we breathe out a lot and we eat a lot of meat. We should be eating more cockroaches and things because it's better for breathing out carbon dioxide or something. I'm not sure how exactly it works. I haven't really studied climate change. Like I said, I don't watch the news, so I miss out on most of that information because it's too scary. But yeah, it's better for the trees and stuff if there's less carbon dioxide in the air or something. Trees do better. I don't know how it works, but anyway, be scared of it. Right, I'm just rambling now. I don't know how to close this off. It's been a while. I don't know how to finish it. I know what I'll do is I'll finish it off with this. Hang on. Yeah, so yeah, I'll finish it off with this.
And I kind of want it, girl.